Welcome to 49ers After Dark. Not on our usual night, usually Wednesdays. This week, Thursday. Same people, though. Cohn and Jessie Naylor talking about the same team, the 49ers. Jesse, great to see you.
It's great to see you too, Grant. You're suited and booted. It's not hyphy Grant, but listen, it's still a Grant that I enjoy hanging out with for an hour on my now Thursday night instead of Wednesday night.
Appreciate it. And let me plug my next thing. The reason I'm suited and booted is because after the Thursday night football game on KTVU, I seem to be getting called up weekly by KTVU, which is nice. I got a little streak going. So if you want to watch me talk more about the 49ers and you live in the Bay Area, Channel 2, around 8:45, 9-ish. Anyway, we got stuff to talk about now. Jimmy Garoppolo went on the radio, said some things. Would you tell the audience what he said?
Okay, a couple things. I got them written down here because I didn't want to miss it. So they asked him, have the 49ers done right by you? And he did some hemming and hawing, but ultimately the quote that I took from the whole thing was, at the end of the day, I'm a winner. So he was talking about, doesn't really matter because I win football games. I don't care what anybody thinks, basically.
No, I'm not a champion or an MVP or a Pro Bowler per se, but I'm a winner.
It's funny to me because this is the same thing that everybody who wanted Garoppolo to play and still wants Garoppolo to play over Lance, these are the same exact words that they echo. And Jimmy Garoppolo just said the same thing about himself, which, I mean, technically he's right. He wins more than he loses, that's for sure. But, to look at yourself, I don't know. The whole thing was really weird because he really hemmed and hawed. There was a lot of a lot of uhs. Well, I don't, he just didn't seem so sure. But then when he got to that part of I'm a winner, he seemed very confident in that. He definitely stayed in that moment.
I just disagree with Jimmy on that point. He used to be one.
Yeah.
But what I see is a guy who's 3-3 this year and a guy who was 3-3 last year. Like, this is what he's done the last 2 years. Last year, he was 3-3 and his quarterback rating was 92.4. This year, he's 3-3 and his quarterback rating is 91.9. So he's neither a winner nor is he good. He's serviceable and he's treading water. And he's been doing this since 2019. I mean, his last good game, he completed 6 passes. It's not his last good game. The end of his run of being a winner was the NFC Championship game when he completed 6 of 8 passes. Since then, he's 6-7. So I think he's lived in the past a little bit. I mean, what else is he going to say, right? I suck. And he's not going to say that.
Yeah, of course.
But that thing that he hung his hat on, to use a bad cliche, that's old news. That's history.
He did get perturbed. There was one spot that he got pretty upset in the interview as well. I wouldn't say he got super upset, but you could tell he was perturbed because they started to ask him a question about, well, do you think the franchise should just go with Trey Lance, even if it means losing games? And he's like, are you asking me that question? And they go, well, I mean, he got pretty upset. Yeah,
That's
he definitely.
Fair answer. That's a fair answer.
It is a fair answer. I like
Jimmy for that. I'd like to. I guess a better question would be like, well, he wouldn't have to answer it. It's like, how do you go through this year knowing that you're most likely not going to be on this team next year? What's your mindset week by week? Well, I'm just taking it one game at a time, and but it's like must be kind of weird unless he thinks that he's playing himself into another season here, and he might be. I don't know. Okay. Hard to say what Kyle wants here.
Jed York did say that he has 2 years if he wants it. So who knows? Who knows what's going on? So 2 more things that came out of the interview for me. So they asked him about Aiyuk. They asked him about the doghouse or proverbial doghouse. And he said, when you have success quickly, it is easy to take your foot off the gas pedal. So to me, that was interesting because that really does echo kind of everything we've been hearing, right? That there might be a work ethic thing, learning how to be a pro situation. Maybe he kind of rested on his laurels a little bit, and talking about Aiyuk. These are things that John Lynch has alluded to, Kyle Shanahan has alluded to. So it's interesting to hear the starting quarterback say the same thing about Aiyuk that really his general manager and head coach have said. So, it makes you start to believe that it's possibly probable that it's true.
It's just interesting that, the Niners had these issues with Aiyuk for, I guess, all offseason. And it's taken them until November 4 to get some type of results that they
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
So maybe they need to re-examine their methods, because maybe what they do with certain players doesn't work with other players. We're going to talk about Aiyuk in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It seems like he was spiraling down the tubes the way Dante Pettis did. And the reason he hasn't gone full Dante Pettis is because he's so much more gifted than Dante ever was. But you can crush the, he's still young. He's still, fragile in a sense. And we'll see what the Niners do with him. But their tough love approach, maybe it's gotten the best out of him. But I don't know. He's had one good game. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, long term, it may end up helping, but your whole point has been they've been stringing him along all season. And how many games did it cost him potentially? Right.
Thank you.
Like that's
Yeah.
a big deal. That is
Right.
a big deal.
Yep.
And then the last thing that caught my eye or caught my ear was they asked him about the vibe in the locker room. And he said, it's been good, not over the top or anything. So that was his thoughts after the win, the vibe in the locker room. It's been good, not over the top or anything.
That's a nothing answer. I mean, it wasn't good when they were in a 4-game losing streak.
Right.
And then they win one game and it sounded like a lot of cheering. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of that.
So for me, what I make of that is that he's saying the team's not too high, right? After a win, it's not enough. They need to do more.
Okay.
They need to move on. They need to get a win.
But it could also be thing to say.
Yeah, it could also be misconstrued a little bit, like who is he talking about the overall vibe in the locker room? It hasn't been great, which I mean, 4-game losing streak probably shouldn't have been great, but either way. What's up, Sky? Appreciate that. He meant UCLA.
Hey man, every time UCLA loses, I'm happy. When they win, I'm happy, but when they lose, I'm happy because that's one game closer to a new head coach.
You
So
you really don't like Chip, do you?
It's not. I mean, personally, not particularly, but it's not even personal. Like he's just a bad coach.
Okay, fair enough.
He was cutting edge 10 years ago.
He did good by my Ducks, so I don't hate him, right? Like I'll always have that soft spot in my heart for him.
For sure. And now the Ducks are just handling him when they see him. So I don't think you missed him. All right.
No, definitely not.
Joe Montana.
Yeah.
Recently said that if it were him, he would have drafted Mac Jones. I went on and Twitter and said, sounds like hindsight to me. Then someone reached out to me and said that they heard that he's been saying this for a while. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that this is how he felt the whole time. And that he's just saying it publicly now. What do you think?
Well, here's the other part of the quote that I had not known about until I went and listened to it. But he says, nothing against the guy they took, Montana said. It's just that more pro-style offense used to being in pressure situations than that, which I disagree. Mac Jones being used to being in more pressure situations. We'll talk about that in a second. Again, we'll see what happens in San Francisco. Nothing against Trey, but it's one of those things that here's a guy that's got a great team behind him. They're always fun to watch. I don't know what he's talking about there.
Yeah.
Great team behind him, fun to watch. But either way, to me, I didn't see that in college. That was my big gripe with Mac Jones is I didn't feel like he was under pressure a lot. And when he was, there were times that he played that situation well, but there were also times that I felt like he got some Jimmy Garoppolo happy feet. And so to me, there was a clear ceiling for Mac Jones. Trey Lance, I feel like his floor is actually higher than what people think, and his ceiling is certainly higher. So I respect Joe Montana. Obviously he's an all-time great, but I don't take his word for gospel either. He's not a talent evaluator. Mac Jones is closer to his play style. I understand that. It's also interesting that Trey Lance is closer to Steve Young's play style, and it seems like he's gravitated towards Trey Lance. So, you kind of like who plays your brand of football. It doesn't surprise me he would say something like that.
Yeah. It's hard for me to say that Mac Jones is like Joe Montana. Look, Joe, it's easy for him to say this now. Mac Jones is having the best rookie year of the rookies. It's easy for him to say this now. Doesn't mean that Mac Jones is going to have the best career of the rookies. Doesn't mean that Joe Montana is going to be right. I mean, great quarterbacks aren't necessarily great talent evaluators. John Elway's demonstrated that. Yeah. I think it's interesting that Joe Montana has no problem piling on more pressure on Trey Lance. Shows you how he feels about the 49ers. They traded him. He may not feel that much loyalty to the franchise as you would think. But what's my main takeaway here on Joe Montana with Mac? Here's what I want to say. Forget Joe Montana and what he would do. I keep going back to what would Bill Walsh do? And Joe Montana wasn't his first choice. He wanted Phil Simms in 1979.
Yep.
Giants took him. So they had a fallback. Joe Montana was the fallback in round 3. And of course, he exceeded everyone's expectations. We went on to be the greatest quarterback of all time. But that wasn't the prototype that Bill Walsh was looking for. And then 5-6 years into Joe Montana's great career, Walsh started looking again for another guy. And who did he want? Steve Young. That's the prototype.
Yep.
And so, God love you, Joe. But if Bill were alive, I'm thinking he would say the Niners picked the right guy, because that's more the type of quarterback that he was looking for. The guy with the plutonium grade talent every single way, not the guy who's scrappy and advanced and, experienced. Like, no, that's not really what Bill was looking for. He held himself to such a high standard as a coach. He felt, just give me the most talented guy and I'll make it work. And that's what he wanted to do with Steve Young.
Well, and up to this point, and maybe even through this point, Shanahan's kind of been the opposite, right? He's like the more conservative guy that's going to do everything the way he wants perfectly. And so, that's why a lot of people felt that he wanted Mac Jones, because he fits his type of quarterback. I don't think that Mac Jones at all is Bill Walsh's type of quarterback. I definitely think he would have went with a Trey or a Fields or something like that. But, for me, this whole Mac Jones thing is a lot this week, because the other thing is there's the PFF grades that have come out, and it's like since week 4 or whatever, Mac Jones is the highest graded quarterback according to PFF. I take PFF with a grain of salt, but you add this in, and I think a lot of 49er fans are panicking on the whole Trey Lance situation a little bit.
Yeah. I think it's kind of funny that Joe Montana would do this. I just keep thinking about what Bill Walsh would do. And, he lucked into Joe Montana. 3rd round pick. That was not what he was looking for. He was looking for Steve the whole time. And if he had a choice between Mac Jones and Trey Lance, he would commit to Trey Lance. And here's the thing, like the difference between Kyle and Bill Walsh. Kyle thinks his scheme is so great that he just wants someone who can execute it. Bill Walsh had a better scheme. He had the greatest scheme of all time. But he was looking for someone not just who could execute it, but who could transcend it and take it to another level. That's what he was looking for. I feel like he was thinking, there's probably a lot of guys who could execute an offense. What about someone who can do more? That's what he's looking for. And that's what Kyle should want. And I thought that's what he coveted when he drafted Trey Lance. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he does want it. It's on a different timeline. Anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Sky says Chip Kelly isn't a good coach. Question mark, exclamation point, question mark. Made the Ducks relevant. Yes, he did. And did decent at the Eagles for a couple years. He was a tremendous offensive mind. He was. You said it. You said it, Sky. He was. Get Steelers GM and dude from...
He wants the Ducks coach, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yep. Listen, I like the Steelers thought. This is probably the 2nd or 3rd time that I've heard this in the last couple of weeks, is go after somebody in the Steelers or the Ravens front office. Not necessarily against it, but if Kyle's here, he's not going to adhere to anybody. So until Kyle's gone, it really doesn't matter who you have, quote unquote, above him.
Thanks, Guy. All right, moving on. Tell us what Steve Young and Alex Smith have said about Trey Lance.
Okay, so they went back and forth. It was maybe it was Monday Night Football, but they were talking about the dynamic of Trey Lance. And Steve Young basically broke it down and said, listen, you had an unfair shake. You went through offensive coordinator after offensive coordinator, after head coach after head coach. That was really unfair for you. It's not like you were ever a bad player, but you found a way through it. And I went to Tampa, which was a terrible situation, and I had to scratch and claw my way through it. So I believe that if you are a good football player, that basically the cream will rise to the top and you will be good regardless. Trey needs to be playing early.
Yeah.
And Alex Smith took a different approach. He felt like playing too early kind of wrecked him mentally early on. And after also being in that Mahomes situation and seeing Mahomes flourish and being able to help him, that he thinks that Trey should be sitting. But here's one really interesting quote that I got from Steve Young. He says, I had to claw my way to play. I learned more that season. He's talking about a second season in Tampa. So remember, his first season in Tampa, he played 5 games. He said, I learned more in that season at 2-14 in Tampa that I did in any other. It let me know that I could play. So for him, playing right away was really important to his development and his growth. And even though the team wasn't doing well, he felt like he could absolutely play ball, and he gained that confidence through that. So that's why, he's pressing for Trey Lance to play, and it's understandable. I mean, he took a hard path to get there.
Yeah, I can see that from Alex Smith's perspective. He got dumped on, he got blamed, scapegoated, injured. It all went bad for him. But the way I see it for Alex Smith was brought into almost an expansion team in 2005. New head coach, new general manager, starting over, worst team in the league. And they were like, okay, win, be our savior. That was a lot. That's not what Trey Lance has been brought into. And same thing with Steve Young in Tampa. That was an awful team. Trey Lance is on a team that's treading water. That's, wins. It's mediocre right now. It might even be good. Who knows? They had a rough start to the year. They have high aspirations. There's a lot of talent on the team. They should be good. And for Jimmy Garoppolo to have the success that he has doing the little that he does, I don't know. It just seems like, what's the worst that could happen to Trey Lance? Yeah, he got hurt in his first start because they used him like a running back. If they used him like a quarterback, he might just be okay. I don't know. But I understand where Alex is coming from. They're both speaking from their own experience.
To be fair, though, Alex Smith, he was a really good mentor to Mahomes. And I don't believe that Jimmy Garoppolo is that at all. So if you don't have a mentor, somebody that's helping you along the way and really actually cares about your development above you, then it doesn't really matter. Like I don't feel like he's getting a lot sitting behind a Garoppolo. Here's one thing that people have to remember. Trey Lance isn't like a Justin Fields or a Trevor Lawrence where he was touted as the next big thing coming out of high school. And a lot of these guys, even in middle school, when you've been pegged as that next guy, you start working with quarterback gurus, refining your craft, all of that in middle school and high school, and then obviously all the way through college. Trey was never that guy. He wasn't picked for the Elite 11. He was passed up by, Indiana and some of these other Big Ten schools, thought he should play safety or linebacker. He wanted to be a quarterback. And it wasn't really until he got to college that he started to actually work with some of these known guys and working through things. So for Trey, again, there's no right answer for a lot of these quarterbacks in the past. Who knows what would have happened if the roles were reversed? But for Trey, sitting a second year in a row, I truly believe that the best thing for him is to get some burn this season.
Ashley says, can someone ask Grant if Kittle seemed extra spicy today in the press conference? Did you see it?
I didn't see it, no.
I didn't think he seemed extra spicy. I mean, someone asked him about being injury prone, basically. And I guess it was like Eric was like, so you've missed a lot of time last few years. Is that just kind of like a byproduct of the way you play? And he was like, well, none of my injuries have been a product of me playing, physical. They've just been like me taking a knee to my helmet or running or this and that.
Or your quarterback airing you out to dry.
Yeah. Okay. So, I guess he's basically saying like, there's nothing I can do. Probably true. Nothing you can do. I don't think it's really his play style. It's the fact that he's got a messed up calf now. And that's scary, because that's you're your Achilles. And you're thinking, I'm 28. I'm really big. I'm putting a lot of stress on this Achilles. Is it going to pop? So it's scary. So I can see, it was a little bit saltier today. You've been lingering. You finally answered it.
Yeah, you had actually noticed that his legs were quite slimmer this year, and it makes me wonder.
To take a little G-force off his stuff, man. I think he was.
Yeah, which makes sense for your knees and stuff, but maybe for your calves and soft tissues, it's not the best thing. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not a physical therapist or anything like that.
Maybe it's too little, too late.
Yep.
Huge Duck fan, so I'm biased. Thanks, guys. But aren't you glad that you don't have him now? Like, you don't want him now. Where are these interviews coming from? What is this on, ESPN?
Well, the Alex Smith and Steve Young one was on ESPN. It was before or after Monday Night Football. I forget what the Joe Montana one was. You can find a video on it, but then 95.7 did the one with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Ninerbot says, laughing my butt off at Lance. It must have sucked for him watching your fellow rookie and Jittery tear it up at Soldier Field while he sits there holding a clipboard. Yeah, must have sucked for him.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Sorry.
At the same time, I swear I remember him making a comment about that like 3 weeks ago that was going to happen, by the way. So good peg on you, I guess.
Brandon Aiyuk came out today and talked. Basically, since Jimmy Garoppolo put it all out there, it's pretty much documented that everyone said he wasn't practicing well. He had to come out and answer for it today. And first of all, some things that you notice about him, I don't know him very well. He hasn't talked that much. He got drafted during the pandemic year. I've never been around him in the locker room. He doesn't come out. They don't make him available that much. So what I've noticed is he's really shy. It's apparent. Like Deebo isn't. Kittle isn't. Jimmy isn't. Aiyuk is almost painfully shy. Like, you know how kids, how they can kind of like hide in a sweatshirt. They'll get their hands inside the sleeves. They'll put the hoodie over their face and tie the thing. That's him. He's like 22, 23, hiding in a sweatshirt at a press conference. So I feel for him right now. Like, he's not that type A personality. He's shy. And what he said, he started revealing stuff. He was like, well, you know, me and someone asked him, like, who helped you hit the reset button on this season? He was like, well, me and Kyle had some words for each other at the bye week. I was like, what? We're like, what do you mean? Can you like tell us generally like what you mean? And he was like, no, just some words. So I was like, oh, okay, let me try this another way. So I said, is it hard not to take it personal when Kyle coaches you so hard? And he goes, that's not what it is. Everyone jokes around and says I have trust issues. It's like, well, I didn't know that about you. Everyone says I have trust issues, and I just had to understand that everyone in this organization wants the best out of me. What a thing for an athlete to say. I've never heard anyone say anything like that. So to me, what I took from this is however Kyle has been communicating to Aiyuk, it hasn't been working. And they had to sit down and hash things out. And Kyle basically had to say to him, like, look, man, I don't hate you. I really like you. And I really believe in you. And I want you to be good. And I'm on your side. And I think that got one positive result. We'll see if it gets more. But I think that's what's happening is Aiyuk was kind of shutting down on Kyle Shanahan's style of coaching.
Been talking a lot about Kyle and not being a servant leader. Yeah. And maybe, just maybe, this is the interaction and conversation that makes him realize that you cannot treat everybody the same. You cannot go out into the media, be passive aggressive, call people out. That's just not the way to run things. Everybody's different. Yes, they are football players. You know, people have this mentality of, oh, they're football players. They're making money. They should be tough. Listen, these guys are human beings. They all have different backgrounds. They all have different things that make them tick. Sometimes it's not money. Sometimes it's a love for the game. Sometimes it's money for their family. It's not even for them. You know, there's so many different ways that these guys are motivated and challenged, and they're just people. And so if you can't get down to their level in some of these situations, like it sounds like he had to with Aiyuk, if Aiyuk wasn't bold enough to maybe go to him and open up and have that conversation, he may have wasted away in San Francisco. So Kyle really has to start to realize when some of these players are going into their shell, they are turtling up a little bit, and he has to be willing to pick it out because not every player is going to challenge him and actually bring it to his attention. He has to figure this out.
Yeah. And it was just, I guess these press conferences are so, you hear the same words, the same cliches, the same phrases over and over again that almost like you don't tune it out, but it all bleeds together. Yeah. And then to hear an athlete say something like, I have trust issues, it's like the needle getting scratched across.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Like, oh, sorry, hold on. What? Can we come back to that part that you just said? And it's not like a therapy session, so I'm not going to say like, well, where do these stem from? But at the same time, it's like, whoa, does Kyle know this? Have you talked? I mean, this is really the essence of who you are. I mean, for you to reach your potential, this has to be factored in. Like this, your coaches all have to know this about you, and they have to develop a special trust with you. Wow. Very interesting. Anyway, I thought it was.
You would think that this would have been information that was passed along though, right? Like how well did Herm Edwards know him? You have a good relationship with Herm Edwards. how well did he know Brandon Aiyuk, and was he willing to divulge some of that information?
But Herm seems easy to trust. He's not the kind of guy who's going to passive aggressively call you out in a press conference after the game.
True.
And I could see, like, if Kyle, he doesn't talk to you very much, and all you really hear is the stuff he says in press conferences, might think that he might hate you. And so maybe it was important for Kyle to understand the effect he was having on a young man who isn't exactly like Deebo. And I'd like to think that Kyle listened and adjusted his teaching style, that he can do that. I'd like to think that he can do that.
Yeah, that's a great thing for him. The other thing that he has to understand is these are young kids. You don't think that Aiyuk sees a social media post about being in a doghouse and maybe that starts to play on him mentally, and he's going, wait, am I in a doghouse? Like, I didn't think about it like that, but now I'm starting to piece this and this and this together. Maybe I am in the doghouse, and that starts to weigh on you a little bit. So that's a possibility as well.
It's also no coincidence that Kyle Shanahan seems to like older players who aren't on social media.
Yes.
But you can't build a team based on players who aren't on Instagram. I mean, they're all going to be on Instagram, Kyle. Sorry.
Well, they've tried. I mean, they are the fourth oldest team in the league for the second year running, third year running, whatever. So yeah, they've tried.
Deshaun Jackson is a free agent. Odell Beckham Jr. could be one soon as well. Should the Niners make a move on either?
Okay. Should the Niners make a move? Yeah, I would say that the Niners could use either one of these guys. Either one of these guys are better than their third option right now. And I don't think that's really debatable.
Their third option is use check right now, yeah.
But yeah, that's only okay. So, I mean, obviously with Kittle coming back, maybe that changes, but third receiver option. So, yeah, of course, they should make a run at it. But let's be real. Deshaun Jackson just requested a trade from the Rams, who are Super Bowl favorites in a lot of people's minds. So why? Because he wasn't getting the ball, and he had incentives in his contract that he's trying to hit.
Right.
So is he going to want to come play for a quarterback that can't push the ball downfield, which is what he does best? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're not going to go from a winning team and a quarterback that can push the ball down the field to a losing team and a quarterback that can't push the ball down the field. So Deshaun Jackson, to me, is out. OBJ is a different story. Obviously, he's technically still in Cleveland, although they say he's not a part of the team, whatever that means. They're keeping him home right now. But if he is released, I imagine he also clears waivers. He is more than just a deep threat. He's a really good route runner. He's got good hands, and he brings something extra to the team. Would he be a much welcomed addition for Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance? Yes, of course. But same thing. He's forcing his way out of Cleveland through his dad, which is an interesting ploy. And Cleveland has a better record than the 49ers. They were in the playoffs, unlike the 49ers. And Baker Mayfield is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. So why would he want to come here? That doesn't make sense either. I think OBJ ends up on a team like the Packers, Bills, maybe the Saints, and Deshaun Jackson would be a great fit for the Raiders, but I don't see either one of them coming to San Francisco.
Yeah, I don't see it happening either. Maybe if Trey Lance were here and the Niners didn't have $35 million tied up at the quarterback position, yeah, these are the kind of things you could do. You had a big, strong-armed quarterback who needed deep threats, yeah. But no, I don't think so. I don't think this is a place that either one of these guys would want to go to, and I don't think this is a place that's interested in those two at this time.
Well, and listen, too, I mean, OBJ, people are saying that he's gotten over his diva years. I don't know if I agree with that. And also it came out today.
The diva's a diva.
Yeah, exactly. It also came out today from one of his teammates, who knows who, saying that he always kept to himself and was never really a part of team functions. So, is he really outgrown that? He's kind of just kept to himself and become a loner, it sounds like, which isn't good either.
That's why he doesn't get the ball.
Possibly.
Did Garoppolo swing the pendulum in his direction against Chicago?
All right. So here's what I mean by this. It sounds like he was this close to getting benched for the rest of the season at halftime in that game, right?
Yeah.
So did the pendulum swing in his direction? I think the answer to that is yes, meaning he scathed off at least another week. However, the question is how long?
Yeah.
If he comes out and he lays a stinker against the Cardinals, does he lose that starting job? If they lose to the Cardinals, does he lose that starting job? Or if he plays well and plays bad against the Rams, like I feel like the pendulum is swung in his direction, but I still think it's closer to him being benched than it is to him playing the rest of the season, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Here's how I think it's going to happen with him.
Okay.
Call me cynical. Let's say he's struggling this game against Arizona, okay? Let's say he has another slow start. He's had a bunch of them in a row, right? Like he's had a slow start every game except since week 1. And they're down 7, 10, 14, and they're getting booed. It's bad. I'm guessing they're going to go into halftime and they're going to find that Jimmy has an injury. His calf. His calf hurts. Or maybe probably his calf. His calf is acting up. It just got re-aggravated. And so he's not getting benched, Jesse. It's not about Jimmy. It's nothing about Jimmy. He's just his calf got hurt. So they're going to go with Trey Lance. And if Trey Lance balls out, then he's the hot hand and Jimmy's calf hurts. And if he struggles and Jimmy's calf feels better, I think that's kind of what they're going to do. That's my prediction.
So you feel like they've got this actual injury, but they can play it in their favor now, however they want to do it, because
Jimmy,
everybody knows that they're both hurt.
You're hurt. Oh,
interesting.
Oh, Trey's struggling. Trey, you're hurt. Jimmy, you're healthy now. I mean, they're both hurt. Everyone's hurt, right? Everyone's hurt in football season. So you're out. And it's not because we're benching you. We're going to say you have an injury. Do you object? Would you like us to say that we're benching you? Your choice, Jimmy. Are you hurt or are you benched? Let us know. We're going to say you're hurt. If you don't want that, we can say you're benched. Up to you. I don't know.
No, that's a good point. That's definitely a good point. But, here's the thing about Kyle is if everything played out the way that you and Vish and KP, said that it played out essentially, then he was going to bench him in front of his hometown fans. Like that's how ruthless Kyle is about that situation.
Before the half, they would have been down 13-6 at halftime.
Yep.
Why would you not make that move? Why would you not? You'd almost have to. But after he hit that throw to Deebo, that swung the pendulum for a minute. The pendulum's coming right back, so we'll see.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Yep.
What's up with Jalen Hurd? Who? I don't think I think I don't know. I don't know how he keeps fooling the 49ers, but I wouldn't expect anything from him this year.
He's not going to – they haven't even talked about him.
Ashley says, not about that. He said that Jimmy is a mobile quarterback and something about Joe Staley. Oh. Well, I didn't hear that.
Watch it. Yeah, I didn't catch that.
And then she said, but also thanks for reading my comment. I found your channel recently and I've been binging your videos. Well, thank you. That was very nice. Hurd set record for longest career without suiting up. He might get a second contract without suiting up. Jalen Hurd is a very interesting test case.
He really is.
BA sounds really like a KD. No.
You don't think
Durant, so? No. Kevin Durant.
Well, Kevin Durant's different now. But early on, Kevin Durant.
No, Kevin Durant's been like one of the biggest basketball players in the world since he was 19. Like Brandon Aiyuk is struggling right now. Brandon Aiyuk lacks confidence right now. I mean, he's a fringe starter right now. He's I don't know, man. I don't know who I would describe him to, but KD has one of the bigger. KD's like Aaron Rodgers to me, like huge egos. Brandon Aiyuk doesn't have a huge ego. Brandon Aiyuk is painfully. He could use a bigger ego, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I see where he's coming from a little bit. Like as soon as LeBron came into the NBA, he was just big. He was larger than life. KD was really good, but for years it was I just want to hoop. I'm just a ball player. I just want to hoop. And
he does kind of have that whole thing where he's like kind of high.
Yeah. But I mean, he's manifested into something completely different over the last 5 to 7 years for sure.
Maybe if Brandon Aiyuk becomes a Kevin Durant level wide receiver, he'll be, I don't know, maybe. A 2 quarterback matchup could be fire against Arizona. What says Grant? They're not going to do that.
Nope.
But it could be interesting. I mean, they did a little bit of that against Green Bay. And they might lose if they don't use Trey Lance against Arizona. I don't know.
It is interesting. I did a show last night with Guy Haberman, and we were talking about this situation. And he says, just watch a game. Where is a good spot to insert Trey Lance? Figure it out. Like, is there ever a good time? And you kind of look at the flow of these games, and you're going, where would I? Am I going to give them a drive here after they just went 3 and out? Am I going to give them a drive after they score? Am I going to give them a drive after the other team scores?
If you give them a drive after they go 3 and out, you create a quarterback controversy.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But to me, like, you created a quarterback controversy the minute you drafted him. You say he's the future. Joe Montana started 7 games in 1980, the year before he became the full-time starting quarterback. I just don't understand how the Niners just turn around next year and be like, okay, well, you're ready. Now you're ready. Based on what? Based on what? The no experience you gave him? Experience matters.
Yes. Okay. So
sorry.
Let me just real quick. So if that happens, right? Like, let's say he doesn't play really the rest of the year. They turn the keys over to him and he struggles. Mac Jones is playing good. Fields, all these guys are playing good because they have a year under their belt. Talk about panic mode from 49er fans. They would lose their ish. Absolutely lose their minds.
Yeah, here's $5, but Grant, it must go to paying for a leadership seminar and literature for Kyle. Got it? Yeah, I'll give him a $5 literature seminar.
It's a bunch of quotes on a napkin. Here you go.
You're the calf and Niners lunar calendar. That's hilarious. Last year was the year of the high ankle sprain. Now it's the year of the calf.
Yeah.
Keep up the great work, Grant. Dude, great fam. Thank you, doggo. I appreciate you. Dylan says if Kyler and D-Hop plays, do the Niners lose? Well, they'll be injured if they play. About that. I'm not sure about that. They'll be injured if they play. Without using the injury ploy, how does Jimmy have to play before he's benched? I just laid it out, I think. Bad.
Yeah.
If he's down more than one score at halftime, things are, all bets are off.
Yeah, I agree.
Ricky Miranda says, Grant, I better not see any more Posey slander. You could argue Yachty and Molina are better defensively, but offensively they don't touch the 6-time All-Star League MVP and 3-time World Series champ. The reason I won't stop on Twitter is because it really pisses people off, and people should never get pissed on Twitter. So I just keep going.
People are so mad. Grant, I was getting people adding me like, get your boy. I'm like, I don't care about San Francisco sports.
I don't care about Posey.
Yeah. First of all, I don't care about baseball. Second of all, I'm from Oregon. I'm a 49er fan, yes, but I don't care about the Warriors. I don't care about the Giants. I don't care about any of those teams.
It's interesting which option keeps Jimmy from getting a decent contract somewhere else, injuries or being benched. Yeah. Being benched is bad. Being benched is no good. That means the Niners think you're a backup quarterback. Not good.
Mm-hmm. I think the injuries hurt him more. And the reason I say that is because if he gets quote unquote benched, other teams will look at that and say, okay, this is where he played well, this whatever, but he didn't have a chance. I mean, they brought in a rookie. What do you expect? They got to play the rookie.
Jimmy Garoppolo needs to play full season, whatever the result is. That is the only way to stop Jimmy wins. Give the fans reality check. It's more important over Trey Lance. Jeez, man, what a waste. I see exactly what you mean, but it's a waste, right? Like you had to do.
Absolutely.
But again, yes. The Rams kind of wasted 2 years too. They lost the Super Bowl and spent 2 years in the Jared Goff experience. Now that was kind of like contractually obligated, but I don't know, man. 2 years trying to recreate 2019. Let it go. Let it go. You lost.
Yeah, it's gone next year anyways. There's way too many free agents.
Yes. If ever the Niners get a quick turnover, they should put Trey Lance in with an up-tempo drive to capitalize. I like that.
I do too.
I like that. Yeah, sounds good. Okay. Tell us how Deebo Samuel's forcing the 49ers' hand.
He's playing really good, Grant. Like amazing football. Top 5 wide receiver type football, top 10 wide receiver type football. This is a guy who's been good every time he's played, but he's had some injury things. And this year, if he continues to stay healthy, continues putting up monster numbers, he, along with Devontae Adams, are going to be the highest paid receivers going into next season. It's just the way that it's going to work.
Wow.
And San Francisco has a decision they got to make. Is this somebody that we want long term? Do we want to trust in this guy long term? Or are we willing to risk it all and trade him for draft capital, which San Francisco does not do well with draft capital, but they don't have a first round pick. And if somebody comes calling and offers a first, maybe a first and a third, something like that, do they listen? But he's definitely forcing their hand. And let's not forget that this team is kind of strapped for cash over the next couple of years. Like, yes, the salary cap is going up, but they don't have a lot of players under contract. They don't have first round draft capital. They've got to make a decision on Deebo Samuel, and he's making it tough on them.
Well, look, let me put it this way. 3-4, 7 games in. He's got 10 more games to go, plus maybe playoffs. He has a calf injury. He came into last week with a calf injury. It's worse now. They said he was limited today. Okay, well, we'll see. He's got to make it through the rest of the year without missing time, and then he'll get the bag, and he'll be very rich. But still, I wouldn't give it to him. I'm sorry. I mean, I know I'm the one who said it was an awful thing that the 49ers traded DeForest Buckner, but Buckner and Deebo aren't the same. Deebo basically missed last year. Buckner never missed any time. Buckner was, dependable and durable, and the Niners need to value that. And nothing against Deebo, but he's got a calf injury right now. He had a bunch of injuries last year. I wouldn't. I mean, are you going to learn your lesson from George Kittle or not?
I also wonder too, like, how much is he fighting through that calf injury, trying to get paid, right? Because Jimmy's missed time from it. Yeah. He missed basically 3 weeks. Kittle missed 3-4 weeks with it. So, yeah, I mean, he's really fighting through something, and he's a tough dude. So if he's missing practice, then something's really, really up with that calf.
Here's another reason why he's a good player to trade. With Buckner, you were taking a guy who was the 7th pick in the draft, who'd only gotten better, become a leader, and proven that he was durable, and traded him for the 13th pick. To me, you somehow lost value on the trade. Deebo theoretically is a 2nd-round pick who you could trade for a first. His value went up, and you can cash in before these injury issues become, locked in for him, and that's who he is, and his value goes down again. So this is the kind of player you actually might want to trade. Now, it would help if you felt the Niners were good at drafting, but those are assets, and you can always trade those picks for other players. I'm just saying, I would probably feel more comfortable, especially if I get a 1st-round pick for Deebo. I would probably take that.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because Deebo is my favorite player on the team. I also don't trust the 49ers drafting, but here's a scenario, and this is a big if. If you can go all in for Devontae Adams, make him the highest paid receiver in football, bring him to San Francisco, then flip Deebo, that's what I'm trying to do.
That's smart. Yeah, replace him with someone who's dependable. All right. Keys to this game against the Cardinals, and give me your prediction.
Okay, so somebody earlier asked, does this game change if Kyler Murray and Hopkins play? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're looking at a lot of talent that is playing for the Arizona Cardinals, but I feel like the 49ers, I know that the 49ers controlled Kyler Murray in that first game. They stopped him from being real mobile. Now he's got an injury, a lower extremity injury, that is going to stop him from being mobile on top of what you already figured out. So you're going to force this kid to play from the pocket. He's not healthy. You've got Hopkins, who has a hamstring injury. That helps out. The best thing that the 49ers can do is stick to the run game. You've got 3 games now where your team has gone over 100. Your running backs in 2 straight games have now gone over 100 twice in a row. The Cardinals have trouble against the run. They are missing J.J. Watt. Your best defense is a ball control offense. You have to run the rock 30 plus times in this game. That is the key to success. You keep Kyler on the sidelines. If Kyler doesn't play, obviously that's a big win. But even if he does play, I do think the 49ers can win this game. I'll go 27-23-ish.
27-23?
49ers. Yep.
Yeah, that sounds like a fair score. I think the Niners should win this game. I mean, they outgained the Cardinals in Arizona just a few weeks ago when Kyler Murray was 100% healthy and J.J. Watt was playing and DeAndre Hopkins was healthy and A.J. Green was healthy. And now that team's banged up and the Niners are healthier than they were then. Now they have Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. They could play both of them if they want to. They have Elijah Mitchell, who had 9 carries in that game. He should have 18 in this game. The Niners should win this game. They should be favored. I don't know if they are. They should be favored. They should win. I don't have a score. Let's see how healthy Kyler Murray is. But again, if he plays, he's not going to be healthy. He might play, won't be healthy. So Niners should win this game.
I think Vegas knows something too, because I believe the Cardinals were around a 4-point favorite early on. And then around Monday or Tuesday, it slipped to a pick'em game. Oh! So usually they know something that nobody else does. Chances are Kyler or D-Hop or both miss this game. So Vegas is usually pretty on top of it. Let me ask you this. If Trey Lance goes into this game and takes over for this team, is it advantage Arizona, being that they've already seen him, or is it advantage Trey Lance?
I would think Trey Lance, because now it's his second look at them, and the Niners could use him in a totally different way. They could actually use him in their offense and let him do play action and stuff like that, because no one's seen him do that yet.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Initially, I thought probably advantage Arizona, but yeah, if they use them completely different, that changes the whole ball game. It's a good point.
Yeah. San Fran fan 82, thank you very much for becoming a member. Jeffrey says, do we know why Shanny hasn't played Sermon? No, that's the next doghouse. He can always say, well, he's a rookie, But what I like to do is I'm sly. I've been asking I've asked Jimmy, I asked Kyle, and I asked Mike McDaniel today, what is so good about Elijah Mitchell? Because often the things that they'll decide to point out with him are things that the other guy isn't doing well. And
what they come away with?
Well, McDaniel says that he just hits the right hole consistently. He's hitting the right hole consistently, and he's becoming more decisive. That sounds like Mostert to me. Yep. What they always said about Mostert was amazing vision, amazing decisiveness. Like, he doesn't mess around, as opposed to Tevin Coleman, who was like
dancing all the time. Yeah. Which Sermon has a little bit of that in him. He really does. Right. He's more patient. Yep.
Right. So I think it's the vision and the decisiveness and the speed. Those three things are pretty much what made Mostert who he was. And it's I don't know if Mitchell has it at that same level, but he seems to have those things. So that's why they like him. And I don't know, Sermon, he may not. I don't think he has a good feel for running in this offense. He doesn't have the real skill set for. I don't know why they drafted him. I don't get it. I don't know.
He has, so kind of going to your point that the things that they say good about Mitchell are maybe some of the weaknesses for Sermon. I feel like he has good vision, but he's not a one cut and go running back, and he certainly doesn't have the speed. So yeah, that's definitely a miss. One of the thoughts that I had was Banks and Sermon were meant to play with Trey Lance. I had that thought up until the Arizona game when Sermon was the starter the game before, and he got 1 carry. So now I have no idea what the heck they're doing.
They just another thing that McDaniel said was they couldn't tell how good Elijah Mitchell was going to be on film. That this is something they discovered pretty much in games, that you could see flashes of it in practice, couldn't see it in film. And then in games, you're like, oh my God, this guy is consistently finding the right holes and finishing violently. I think they just brought in Sermon and Mitchell and we're like, oh, we were wrong about Sermon. He's not good, but this guy's good. That to me seems to be what they're really down on Sermon. And I don't know if we may find out why next year. I don't know. Now that we know about Aiyuk, I guess Sermon's the next one to discover.
Yeah, the 49ers do good at hedging their bets, don't they? Hey, we're going to take 1 offensive lineman here, 1 late.
Yeah.
1 guy here, 1 late.
And at least one worked out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's very true.
All right, Jesse, I got to go prepare for my KTVU hit. This was a lot of fun. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you, Jesse, for doing this with me on an off night.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate all of you. It was definitely an off night. Go tap into Last Second Sports. Would appreciate it.
I don't know. I didn't listen to Damon Bruce's questions. What do you think?
I don't know what.
He's the guy who interviewed, who was it, on 95.7? Jimmy.
Oh, no. I thought he was bold. Yeah. I thought he was very bold. I don't know who those guys are, but yeah, I thought he was very bold. I mean, he was very honest in saying that he has been a big reason why people are on the Trey bandwagon and there's a lot of noise. He said, I've I've definitely contributed to that, which I think was both of him.
I did hear this. Alex says George Kittle doesn't favor Trey Lance playing over Jimmy Garoppolo. In the press conference today, Kittle, in a passive-aggressive way, says, I love when Jimmy runs in for TD, shows he's a mobile quarterback. He did say that today.
Kittle frustrates me more and more every time he talks.
Yep, absolutely. Going to be interesting to see what happens if the Niners just get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, where does that leave George? Do you want to be on the team anymore? Where are you going to be? Interesting to see.
Man, he just doesn't seem like he's happy, man. I don't know. Something's off. Something's definitely off. And it's crazy because I remember when I first started watching you, Grant, one of the things that you said is these guys are professional. This was after 2019. I think you were talking about getting rid of Jimmy G, and people were asking you, well, what about Kittle? And you said, yeah, these guys are friends, but this is a business. He'll be professional. It doesn't seem like he's going to be professional about this situation.
Yeah, it's a very strange locker room, and he's almost acting like it's his team. Like it's him and Jimmy's team, and he wasn't consulted on the trade, and he doesn't like it. He doesn't approve. It's like, I don't know, man. Why don't you just play your position and stay healthy?
Yeah, this whole thing's wild to me.
Jamaican Boy says, thank you both for putting out content consistently. Thank you.
Absolutely, Jamaican Boy. Thank you for supporting.
The show's over now. Thank you very much, everyone. Be back next week, Wednesday. See you then.